Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episode 8 of Peacock's The Day of the Jackal. Now, I think we can all agree that while I've said that I've enjoyed this show, I've also been fairly hard on it. I've said it's dragging, I've said it's had absurdly stupid stuff happening every week. There was even an absurdly stupid moment in this episode. But keep all of my criticism for all the previous 7 episodes, the criticism that I've had, keep it in mind so that you'll believe me when I say this was easily the best episode of the season and one of my favorite episodes of TV that I've watched this year. Like, this episode was informative, it was exciting, it was intense, never stopped moving. It was just a lot of fun to watch, to be perfectly honest. You know, while the stuff that we see in the present day, it was perfectly serviceable in this episode, and we're going to talk about it. It's the flashbacks in this episode that really carry it. We learn about the Jackal's past, and while I expected to learn about it at some point, and I expected it to be pretty interesting, the experience of watching what took place during his time in the military far exceeded what I was expecting with that portion of the story. So let's just get into it, because there were some really great fucking scenes in this episode, man, and I'm ready to talk about them. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. So immediately, we learned that Charles / the Jackal is in fact the Alexander Duggan guy that we've heard mentioned multiple times this season. You know, I thought this opening scene, I thought this was a great scene. You know, I mentioned in prior videos how I like the moments where we see how he works. And seeing him put on prosthetics is one thing, adjusting his sight or whatever, but seeing him line up that Taliban target from 1,400 meters away, that was another. That was a really cool scene. I like both of those scenes. The one where he doesn't shoot the guy because it's not the target, and then the one where he actually does take the shot and nail it. You know, both scenes were intense. Did a great job of conveying like the pressure, the high level pressure of these kills. Like, these are highly valuable targets. He's incredibly far away. Like, you only get one shot at this, and the pressure of all that I think really comes through in both of those scenes. Most importantly, though, this is where we see Charles, who I'm probably just going to refer to as Duggan from now on, first dip his toe into the murder for hire business. So while he's out for drinks, Duggan and his spotter, a guy named Gary, they have a run-in with someone else who ultimately ends up paying them $20,000 apiece to take care of somebody. After that job, the same guy seemingly makes an offer to basically hire them. I think this is what it sounded like to me. Hire them as kind of like payrolled assassins to take out the enemies of the person that this guy works for. They decline, saying that they still have time left to serve in the military, but it's clear that this is something that is intriguing to Duggan, given the success and the financial income that resulted in the first kill. And then this is where the flashbacks start to get really good. On the next job, Duggan and Gary are meant to basically cover while the rest of the team extract, I think it was like some Taliban leader or something from a house. The armed men at the gate, they don't seem to be too interested in letting Duggan's team into this location. And as the tension mounts, Duggan spots one of their snipers, one of the other guy's snipers, and that guy was aiming at them, so he takes that guy out. But when that guy falls, his gun goes off, and that just sets off complete chaos. The armed men at the gate start shooting, Duggan's team starts shooting, and they start shooting with a whole lot bigger weaponry than these guys have. They completely obliterate this building with gunfire. I mean, it's a disaster. Come to find out, there was a wedding going on inside that day. ton of innocent people killed, women, probably some children. And rather than be remorseful about it, Duggan's team just blows up the whole location in order to cover up what happened. I watched that entire scene, didn't pause it, didn't take any notes, completely engaged. Once it was over, I went back to my notes and just wrote, holy shit, what a fucking scene. Like, just like I said about the scenes at the beginning, when Duggan and Gary were trying to take out that Taliban leader, this scene was engaging, intense, suspenseful. Then it makes a hard left and becomes chaotic, then horrific. I mean, this scene had it all, man. And Duggan's crew, they don't even fucking care. Like, it's some exceptionally, like, callous shit. And you can see their behavior is getting to Duggan. And listen, by this point in the episode, I'm already, like, in the Facebook group, like, yo, this might be the best episode of the season. And that suspicion became reality with the final scene of the episode. We see Duggan and his team, they're on the move, and they spot what they think is an IED nearby. That stands for improvised explosive device. And we're treated to yet another, like, edge of your seat scene, as we watch Duggan approach whatever this potential IED. Like, he's moving slowly, high tension, he's sweeping the road with like a metal detector. He has this probe thing that he's pushing into the ground, and you're expecting something explosive to happen, no pun intended, at any minute. And then nothing. It's just the tricycle. That's it. Relief, we can move on. Like, no harm, no foul, just the tricycle. And then, just like what Tyrion said, like, your joy will turn to tears or ashes in your mouth. He's talking about Cersei. Our relief quickly turns to horror when we realize that Duggan had planned all of this to get him and Gary away from their vehicles, and he blows up the rest of his entire team. I mean, what the fuck, man? What an ending. I loved how this ending also, it made everything kind of come together. Like, we can now see why the file on Duggan's team is, like, completely fucking redacted. And later, possibly even when it's not redacted, just bullshit. But we'll get to that. We can see how this one act has shaped everything we know about Duggan today. Why he's an assassin. Why he started a whole new life in Spain. Why everybody wants to believe that he's dead. Just a really great A-plot in this episode with the flashbacks. Now I want to talk about the present day plot line of this episode. And I want to start by, as I find myself doing quite often, admitting that I was wrong about something. Actually, that doesn't happen very often, very rarely wrong. But I said Bianca would see Charles on the security footage with his regular goddamn face, and that didn't happen at all. But I'm only wrong about it for this episode. Like, this episode was about Duggan and showing us his backstory, making everything come full circle. From Bianca's perspective, Duggan's dead. She's just understandably suspicious. I do still think she's going to look into the UDC shooting and or Rasmus's death and somehow connect Jackal and Duggan. But in the meantime, while we were learning about Duggan, Bianca was being put on a wild goose chase. We started the Bianca subplot by immediately answering a question that I had in my previous video, which was, who was the shooter at the UDC event and what was his agenda or her agenda? Well, it turns out it was somebody who was on UDC security team. I guess they had infiltrated it. They said this person was an extremist or whatever. This guy said that UDC had more like nefarious plans for River, like just like for his own gratification, his own information, than like the wholesome goals that he proclaims. Meanwhile, Bianca learns that Duggan's file is 2 levels above top secret. I don't even know how that's a thing. So she's going to basically have to move mountains in order to see it. And there's a scene where Bianca and Isabel meet with the foreign secretary to convince him to give them the unredacted file, and he later will end up doing that. But before I continue into what was in the file, I want to talk about this scene that takes place between Bianca and her daughter. Traditionally, most shows we watch, they have a good guy and they have a bad guy. Obviously, I'm oversimplifying with the terminology here. I just want to use recognizable terms, but you know what I mean. The protagonist, the antagonist, whatever you want to call it, there's usually something that amounts to good versus bad. And in life, we're generally taught to understand that an assassin is a bad guy and the cops are the good guy. Bianca ain't a good guy, man. Bianca, like, she's kind of a piece of shit, if we're being honest. Like, you have to make these hard decisions. Yes, when you have a job like hers, decisions are tough. Decisions she's made, they're not even necessarily the wrong ones. But hey, if making the right decision means that you have to be an asshole, like it entails some assholeness, it doesn't make you any less of an asshole. You just got a really good reason for having to be one. And that's kind of how I see Bianca. Like, Bianca's a piece of shit, right? That has a good reason for being a piece of shit, but she's a piece of shit nonetheless. Like, the way she lies to her daughter in this scene, man, like, even when her daughter, like, kind of gave her an out, like, it was fucking cringe, and I absolutely fucking loved it. Like, her daughter's like, I was like, you know, I understand that you're a lot of work. Sometimes you got to do some bad things to get a positive result. Like, I get it, you know? The end justified the means, right? Hey, mom, listen. If you had to do some bad stuff to save some people, I totally fucking get it. I swear, I understand. Bianca's like, no, I've never done anything bad ever in my life. I've only done good. And I'm like, all right, so you just want to lie at this point. And I mean, I'm saying all this kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I thought this was a great scene. You know, this show is constantly drawing parallels between Duggan and Bianca, and I thought this was another great example. You know, we've already seen how they both lie to and neglect their families as a whole, like the whole collective family as a unit. And then we also saw how Bianca was willing to lead on Larry's wife to get to Larry. I hate Allison. I think it was Allison. But either way, Larry and Allison's daughter is dead, or was dead. And not only did Bianca not tell them, she said that she could get the daughter out of jail. Like, that's just low, man. Like, now you've got her, excuse me, you've got her just lying to this woman's daughter. Like, this even, like she's lying to her own daughter. I'm sorry, even when the daughter gives her the out. Like, it's not like you have to divulge the individual things you've done wrong. She doesn't be like, yeah, I killed these motherfuckers. She doesn't even have to get specific. All she had to do was just kind of like cop to like, yeah, I've done some stuff I'm not proud of for the greater good. Like, that's all she had to really admit. And the daughter clearly was expecting to hear that and wanted to hear that. And Bianca's like, nah, I'd just rather lie. And in that moment, I'm just like, man, what a fucking asshole. But at the same time, I'm acknowledging the good work that they've done with the character. Not to mention the good work that the show has done with blurring the line between right and wrong as it pertains to Duggan and Bianca. Like, Bianca is seeming like a pointlessly willful liar at this point who led a mother to believe that she'd see her daughter again when she knew the daughter was dead. Meanwhile, Duggan just did a bad thing for what he perceived was the greater good. Like, his crew massacred a ton of innocent people, destroyed the evidence, and didn't give a fuck. Like, Duggan wiped out some really shitty fucking people. So now, and I'm not trying to justify Duggan's actions, but like now, my point is that line of the assassin being the bad guy and the cop being the good guy, it's a lot blurrier than it generally is. And I think the show's done a really good job with that. Now I want to talk real quick about about something this show is not doing a good job with. The earlier mentioned at the top of the video, absurdly stupid scene of the week. Like, this episode, like I said, easily my favorite of the season. Probably one of my favorite episodes of TV I watched this year. So explain to me how Larry was able to sneak a shank into his meeting with an MI6 officer. What the fuck, man? He should be able to sneak a shank into a visit with his grandma. But an MI6 agent? Like, they ain't frisk him at all. Like, they're just like, yeah, I'm sure he's fine. Let's just let him in. Like, he didn't even like hide it. He didn't pull it out of his ass or anything like that. He just took it right out of his sleeve like a fucking rabbit out of the hat. Like, and no one writing or shooting this thought like, hey, don't they search inmates before they meet anybody, any visitors? Maybe we should consider that, given that this isn't even any old visitor. It's a goddamn MI6 agent. Like, but no one thought of that. And because of that, we have the Day of the Jackal's absurdly stupid moment of the week. I can't wait to see what they have planned for the last 2 episodes. Oh yeah, and Larry kills himself with the shank. I guess that's important too. But back to Bianca's quest to get the unredacted version of Duggan's file, and her and Isabel, like I said, working over the foreign secretary. It worked. Problem is, they got to read the file in front of OC in that room and sign NDAs. All for it to just say that the team got blown up by an IED, which is what everybody's been saying the whole time. and OC tries to leave with like this smug look on his face. But then Isabel and the guy that's been questioning all the potential moles, they want to talk to OC. And listen, y'all already know, if OC is the mole, fuck this show. We already know. If OC is the mole, it was obvious in like episode 3 or some shit. I don't remember when I first said it. I did one video for episodes 1 through 5. I don't know, but it was obvious that OC was the mole a very long time ago. But like I said last week, they're leaning so heavily into it being him that now I think it's probably not. At this point, it looks like we're all supposed to suspect him, so I guess we'll see what happens. But I'll continue to praise this episode no matter what I think about the season. But like I said, and I'm going to stand by this, if OC is the fucking mole, it's the worst hiding of a mole that I've ever seen in my life. It's been obvious for a real fucking long time. Lastly, there's another little subplot in the episode that, now that I think about it, had another part that I didn't like. The sketch of Duggan that the cop recognized as being him last week, the one that I called bullshit on. Well, Nuria's brother sees it on the news. Who's like, yo, is that Charles? And I'm just like, fuck out of here, man. Like, that picture looks like the German kid from Dark. And like, don't tell me you saw that and identified it as Duggan. But Nuria calls Duggan to ask him about it. And this is the one time that we see Duggan lose his cool, which was also made the scene extra cool. Like, he very sternly tells Nuria that her brother cannot repeat that he thought that might be Duggan, and this causes her to then freak out. Look, I'm probably the least interested in whatever happens between him and his wife, but if at any point we want to up the ante by bringing his family into it and making him extra on edge, I'm all for it. Let's do it. So that's that. We've got 2 episodes left. They're both supposed to drop at the same time, so we'll get 9 and 10 at once. I'll release one video covering both episodes, but let's hope for the show's sake that OC isn't the mole and that Bianca threatens Duggan's family, because that'd be super sweet. So until those final 2 episodes, peace.